Jarramas became mine in 2008, but she was in quite a state of disrepair. I asked my boss, Dave Blatchford, where I worked at Bewley, Bucklers Hard, to come and have a look at it with me. I said, how much should I offer him for it, Dave? He said, well, £1,500 would be fair, he said. And I offered £1,200 and he took it. Well, I took it round to Bucklers Hard under sail, and there was water streaming and all down the stem, just like a stream. And so I had to lift it out round there. I built a scaffold cover over it and cover over it. But the bulkheads, all the bulkheads there, you could see through them. They were just butt jointed with no tongues in or anything. So luckily they all came apart nicely, and I put tongues in everything. All these beams were all delaminated and everything, and it was absolutely heaving down with rain that day. I got in the boat and I sat in it, and there was water coming through the roof, through the decks and everywhere, and I thought, no, I don't know if I want to do this.
Was it a folk boat that you wanted?
At the time, not necessarily. I wanted something that really sailed well. I'm a purist in the way I like wood, and I've always loved classic boats. When that opportunity came, I grabbed it, and there were times, obviously, when you're doing these things that you wish you hadn't have. But
so what is it that's special about folk boats then?
Well, the way they sail, I think, you can take this in 30 knots of wind with no reefs or anything, and you're not rounding up, and they're so forgiving to sail. You can make mistakes and they'll practically sail themselves. But at the same time, even though they're long keel, they're almost like a dinghy. You can spin them round and that. The guys on Folkboat Week, sometimes if their engines don't want to start when they're coming back in, I've seen people sail them into the Yarmouth, and just flick them around. And it's the same with this. That engine barely ever goes on the back, except if I'm going into a Yarmouth or somewhere like that, into a marina. But when I race in the evenings, the engine stays in here. I just sail on and off the moorings, all the time.
So do you use them mainly for racing then?
No, not necessarily. No, I like going cruising in it. But my big event of the year is Folkboat Week. That is the love of my life. It's like my holiday every year.
What did you spend on the restoration?
Probably only £1,000 or so, I guess, on this one. It was just timber, basically, and I replaced part of one of the planks. Basically, she was in good condition. I refastened all the stem planks, and that was where it was leaking the worst. And one of the planks had quite a large split in it, which I put a piece in about 4 foot long. A lot of the scarves were coming adrift. The glue had given up on them. I opened all the scarves, cleaned them out, and glued them with Sausenal glue. I mean, the cabin, she was bare. I stripped her totally out to bare boat, and this cabin and this front here is all new and that. But I managed to salvage the beams, which were all delaminated, and use them again. And the actual coach roof was, in actual fact, that was all T&G. It was all nailed to these beams. So when you took it off, it just broke off up anyway. And since I was going to sheave it, it had to be plyboard. So that's two layers of 4mm ply laminated together. But I routed all these lines in there for the T&J, in fact, before I put that over. So it's laminated, and you've got the strength of the two laminations there as well. The keels had new bolts and what have you. In fact, it's been 12 years now, so I think it's probably time I had a look at some of them.
Where did she originate from?
She was from Sweden.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Built in
1966. But I'm not sure what boatyard actually. I wondered what Jarramas meant. I think it means mischievous, apparently. In the Swedish Navy, they had a square rigger called Jarramas, and I'm assuming that maybe it was named after this square rigger, which I think has been restored actually. Whoever owned it maybe had served on it or something, or the original owner, and perhaps named it after that.
So how often do you varnish her then?
Rub down the top sides, and that's the original varnish on the top sides. I rub down the varnish and give it a couple more coats each year. which is good enough. You know, originally when I first did it, I put 10 coats on of Epiphanes varnish on everything. So it lasted for an awful long time. It's lasted for a long time. A couple of years ago, I took the superstructure outside, the mahogany part of it, back to the wood, and revarnished that again. Put 10 coats of actually international original on it, which I was very disappointed on, because when I put 10 coats on it, only looked at, I had 4 coats on. It's going already, you know. It's been very, but you know, I wouldn't use it again. The Epiphanes, I guess you pay a lot of money for it, but it seems to be the stuff to use.
So our viewers in America, where you are?
Well, I'm up the River Test at Southampton Docks. The container port is just across the way there, straight over from the yacht club, in which we have some of the biggest container boats in the world come up, and right opposite this pontoon is the turning circle. We get all the liners come in, all the P&O liners and many others, and the Cunard liners all come up here, Queen Mary, Queen Victoria and Elizabeth. I've lived here since I was a kid, and my family go back in Marchwood to 1801. I love working on the classic wooden boats, and folkboats to me are just the ultimate sailing boat, basically. I don't think you will actually find another boat that you would enjoy sailing more than a folkboat.
I mean, it's quite a cheap classic boat, isn't it, to buy?
Yeah, very cheap.
To maintain.
Yeah. You and to maintain too. Yeah, it doesn't cost me much to maintain this at all. And this yacht club makes yachting affordable. Actually, it is a, you know, we all do voluntary work, and that you've got to be a member of the yacht club. And it's quite cheap. You know, £150 a year to be in the yacht club, and my moorings £540. My winter storage is £330. It makes, you know, I'm sort of, my budget for having a boat is about £1,000 a year, you know, and then obviously I've got to work and do things on top of that. So yeah, it makes boating very affordable here.